Okay, as to quadruple V or 4V, however you want to put it, essentially, the voir direing the witness is in regards to the admissibility of a threshold question as to the admissibility and the circumstances on the basis of whether or not it's accurate or otherwise, or as to the competency of the witness. So the circumstances as to that portion goes to the weight, not the admissibility, and it's subject for cross-examination. So the request for voir dire is going to be denied.
Are you allowing it in evidence?
Yes, I am. Based upon the other circumstances, as far as the objection as to the hearsay, I think was the other objection, and based upon the circumstances, not even as far as seeing, there doesn't appear to be anything, the state's not offering anything in the statements for the truth of the matter asserted.
That's not necessarily true, Your Honor, because they're going to be offering phone records later on that's going to confirm those messages.
If you're indicating as far as timestamps or otherwise, timestamps is not necessarily hearsay, Mr. Dowdy.
I'm talking
The actual
about
statement itself of, because I know one of the statements you mentioned was where it says Cody Amato probably doesn't indicate a statement or a truth, or is there something that you are specifically concerned about that you believe that it is indicating?
for that particular entry for Cody's phone. The state, and they can correct me if I'm wrong, later on in their case in chief, will be introducing phone extractions from Chad's phone that will most likely confirm that entry. As to the other entries on that cell phone that you see, I would object on those on hearsay, and I have no way of cross-examining whether or not the content of those statements, you know, the people that are on there. I just have no way of doing that.
Okay. Understood. The objection's overruled.
Yes, Judge, just to give you a full idea, I want to confirm, when the cell phone extraction folks testify, I anticipate to include in that record a text string between Dad and Cody, but not for the truth. It's to show the timeline and the nature of their communications, how frequently they text, things like that. I'm very well aware that those statements, if I were to offer them for the truth, would certainly be hearsay, and I would never argue that in closing argument, certainly not. But for purposes, you know, just because something is not admissible for one purpose doesn't mean it's not admissible for another. So that's where we're going.
Well, in looking at this, the court, we haven't even gotten to the aspect of the other evidence, but in looking at this specific screenshot, probably is not, in the court's view, not a statement that is being offered for the truth of the matter asserted. That's why the court's indicating us to that. Any indication of timestamps is not hearsay. So that is the other aspect, so as to why the court's allowing this. The other statements of other individuals, the court would indicate are the same, and that is why, in looking at it, viewing it, and based upon the issue was the voir dire aspect, the voir dire goes to the weight, not the admissibility, or the what you wish to voir dire about, I should say, goes to the weight, not the admissibility.
And that's why I wanted to voir dire him and ask him how he picked up that phone and all of a sudden messages are on there. But if you're not going to allow me, that's fine. I'll do it on the cross.
The fact that that portion doesn't, that goes not to the accuracy of what he found or otherwise. That's what the subject matter for voir dire would be, as to the threshold portion of a fair and accurate depiction. So that's why it goes to the weight, not the admissibility, based upon the research that the court just made sure to conduct before I ended up ruling. All right? So your objection is, at this point, overruled as to quadruple V, and that'll be entered into evidence as to, we were at 127, was it?
Well, when the jury's back, then I'll just raise my objection on your
That's fine. The other thing I did want, before we bring the jury back, I do want to make sure everyone's aware too, the random sheet of the 1 through 55 of all the jurors that we had, the court is going to file at this point under seal, but put it in the court file, so just in case that it is clear of which badge number or juror number was which seat number, because we placed them in the same order that is listed on the random sheet, and that will be provided. And initially, just the ones that were called that Monday night were released on Monday night were the ones that were challenged or otherwise stricken for cause on Monday. With realizing that there is an anticipation, realizing that the court has to accept back strikes until the jury is fully sworn. The other individuals were not released until we finished, until yesterday, just in anticipation in case the defense decided to have more back strikes, which everyone knows occurred. So, but I'm going to have that in there so that way it's clear on who was, the badge numbers are definitely clear for the record, just to let everybody know. All right?
One more thing, Jennifer, just for purposes of keeping track, evidence numbers, did you,
This one is not
is
the one I want.
4V is in Victor, is that going to be 125? 127? 4V?
4V is going to be 127.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. And I'll announce that if you wish for the jury on the record, so that way it's also here for the jury, and then we can go from there. Ms. Adkins, how much longer do you think you have?
I'm sorry, it's hard for me to know. We still have a couple more pieces of evidence in going through the photographs.
Probably 45 minutes, maybe.
All right. I'm going to let the jury know what we'll try and do and see is if we can finish this witness. Then we're going to go maybe a little bit later and to lunch today. Okay? Yeah.
Oh, so longer than that. Well, longer than 45 minutes.
Okay.
Probably a little bit of lunch.
All right. Well, we'll see when we finish the state. Do you have, who's doing, are you doing the cross?
I am.
Okay. I should have known since you're objecting. Then, Mr. Dowdy, do you have any idea or any anticipation of what your cross would be?
Well, subject to Mr. Rubart's answers, I would say 2 hours.
Okay. All right. Just so I can have an idea.
At the most, 2 hours. I mean,
All right.
Yeah, between 1 hour and 2 hours.
Okay. All right. Then most likely we'll be breaking in your cross for lunch.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Let's get the jury, please. All right, we took a little bit longer break. The attorneys and I had some matters to go over. At this point, just for your benefit, the court overruled the defense's objection, and then the 4V or quadruple V photograph is entered as 127. You may continue your direct examination, Ms. Adkins.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm showing counsel what's been pre-marked for identification as states 14R and 14S. Permission to approach the witness.
And Judge, I'm sorry, you just admitted 4U into evidence?
4U was previously entered, it was 4V.
Okay, and I would object on hearsay grounds.
Okay, and
Thank
the objection's overruled is...
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you may proceed.
Showing the witness what's been pre-marked for identification as states 14R and 14S. Do you recognize these exhibits?
Yes, I do.
How do you recognize them?
They are photographs that I took of the item.
Okay. And what are these photographs of?
They are of that firearm that was on the floor of the gym. Shows in one photograph one loose round that was from the chamber and the magazine. And then in the next photograph, it shows 4 rounds from the magazine.
And are these photographs a fair and accurate depiction of how you observed the firearm from the gym when you collected it for evidence?
Yes, they are.
Permission to move states 14R and 14S into evidence as states next.
Any objection?
No objection, Judge.
All right. What's been pre-marked for ID as 14R will be entered into evidence as 128 in evidence. What's been pre-marked for ID as 14S will be moved into evidence as 129 in evidence.
Permission to publish? You may. I'm publishing states 128. Mr. Rubart, what is this a photograph of?
It's a photograph of the firearm that was on the floor of the gym, the magazine that was loaded into the firearm, and 4 live rounds that were in the magazine.
Now showing you states 120.
Chamber of the firearm.
And using your laser pointer, can you please just indicate for the jury what the magazine is?
This is the magazine that was loaded into the firearm.
And can you please indicate where the chamber of the gun is?
The chamber of the firearm is right here, and this is the live round that was in the chamber of the firearm.
Thank you. Did you have an opportunity to conduct an investigation of the second floor of the home?
Yes, I did.
For the record, I'm showing what's titled Second Floor of States Composite 19. I'm going to begin with your investigation specifically of the room titled Cody's Room. I'm showing you what's now in evidence as states 104. Can you please describe this photograph to the jury?
This is a photograph taken from the doorway going into Cody's bedroom. A bed is located here on the right. A computer desk is over here next to the bed. A computer tower is located on a shelf on the wall. We have a second computer table over here to the left. And these are display cases of various figurines.
I'm now showing you what's in evidence as states 105. Can you please describe this photograph to the jury?
Here's a photograph of that computer table right next to the bed here. On the top here is this shelf that also contains a computer tower.
You indicated a shelf. I'm now showing you states 101. Is this the computer tower you just indicated in the previous photograph?
Yes, it is.
Now showing you states 102. What is this photograph of?
In this photograph is the other computer desk on the other side of Cody's bedroom, and it shows 2 computer towers here on the floor underneath the computer table.
I'm now showing you states 100. Is this a closer view of the computer located underneath the table?
Yes, it is.
After looking at these photographs, is it fair to say there were numerous electronics located within Cody's room?
Yes, there were.
I'm now showing you a photograph of states 106. Do you recognize this photograph?
Yes, I do.
What is this a photograph of?
This is a photograph taken of the closet in Cody's bedroom. In the corner here is a blue gun box.
Zooming in to the gun box. Did you collect that gun box?
Yes, I did.
Pre-marked as states 13N as in Nancy. And I'm showing counsel what's been pre-marked as states 13X. Permission to approach the witness. Showing the witness what's been pre-marked as states 13N. Do you recognize this exhibit?
Yes, I do.
What is this an exhibit of?
It's an exhibit containing a gun box for a Smith & Wesson M&P 9 9mm Luger firearm.
And is this package in substantially the same condition as when you collected the item for evidence?
Yes, it is.
I'm now showing you states 13X for identification. Do you recognize this exhibit?
Yes, I do.
How do you recognize it?
I recognize it by my handwriting on the front of the envelope, as well as the unique case number and my initials. And my initials are on the red evidence tape sealing the envelope.
And what are the contents of this exhibit?
This is one swab from the handle and 2 clips of the gun box.
And did you collect this swab?
Yes, I did.
How did you do so?
I collected a swab from the handle of the gun box, as well as the 2 locking clips that seal the box.
And what did you swab the box for?
I swabbed it to obtain a DNA profile.
And is this package in substantially the same condition as when you collected it for evidence?
Yes, it is, with the exception there's a red piece of evidence tape and a yellow sticker on the back.
Permission to move states 13N and 13X into evidence as states next.
All right, what's been pre-marked for ID is States Exhibit 13X will be moved into evidence as, actually 13N will be moved into evidence as States Exhibit 130 in evidence. It's been pre-marked for ID as States Exhibit 13X will be moved into evidence as States Exhibit 131 in evidence.
Permission to publish what's now in evidence as states 130.
You may.
Please open it. Now showing you states 103 in evidence. Do you recognize this photograph?
Yes, I do.
What is this a photograph of?
It's a photograph of a Microsoft Surface Pro laptop computer.
And where was this Surface Pro located?
It was located in Cody's bedroom.
Showing you again states composite 19, titled second floor. Did you conduct an investigation of the room titled Grant's room?
Yes, I did.
When you began your investigation, how did you determine that this room on the top left corner was Grant's room?
There was paperwork on a desk in the room that had Grant's name on it.
And did you attempt to determine, going back to what was titled Cody's room, how did you determine that the room indicated on the bottom left was Cody's room?
There was also some paperwork in there indicating with Cody's name.
Showing you what's in evidence as states 107. What is this a photograph of?
This is a photograph of the closet in Grant's bedroom.
You states 108 in evidence. What is this a photograph of?
This is a photograph showing some figurines that were on a shelf in Grant's bedroom, Grant's closet in his bedroom.
I'm showing you what's in evidence as states 109. What is this a photograph of?
This is a photograph of some shelves that were built into one of the walls of Grant's bedroom, showing more of some figurines that are on display.
And in the bottom left-hand corner, can you make any observations?
This is a computer desk that is in Grant's bedroom.
Showing you what's in evidence as states 111. Is this the computer desk you were describing in the previous photo?
Yes, it is.
Showing you what's in evidence as states 112. What is this a photograph of?
This is a photograph of a computer tower that was underneath the computer desk.
Is this a close-up image of states 111?
Yes, it is.
Showing you states 113 in evidence. Is this a close-up image of the computer you described in states 111?
Yes, it is.
I'm showing you states 110 in evidence. What is this a photograph of?
This is just another angle of the same computer desk in Grant's bedroom.
Now showing you states 114.
Just an overall photograph of the computer table desk in Grant's bedroom.
Now showing you states 115. What is this a photograph of?
Here is another small desk that is in Grant's bedroom next to the closet that's up here in the corner.
And you previously indicated there was some paperwork. Is there paperwork on this desk?
Yes, there is.
It's a blurry photograph, but do you recall if the paperwork had Grant's name, the name Grant Amato on the paperwork?
Yes, it did.
In these photographs, were there numerous electronics depicted?
Yes, there were.
Were there numerous electronics in Grant's room?
Yes, there were.
Were these items collected for evidence?
The computer tower that was underneath the computer desk was collected.
Was the computer tower submitted to digital forensics?
Yes, it was.
I now want to draw your attention, going back to states 9, states 19, what's titled the first floor. Drawing your attention to the master bedroom. Did you conduct an investigation of that room?
Yes, I did.
I'm showing you what's in evidence as states 118. What is this a photograph of?
It is a photograph of a cell phone that is plugged into a charger, which is then plugged into the wall. And it's sitting on some sort of a chair.
And using the laser pointer, going back to states 19, can you please indicate where you located this chair with cell phone?
It was located in the northwest corner of the master bedroom.
I'm now showing you what's in evidence as states 127. What is this a photograph of?
It is a close-up photograph of that cell phone.
The same cell phone you previously indicated in states 118?
Yes, it is.
I'm now showing you what's in evidence as states 119. What is this a photograph of?
It is a photograph of a entertainment center that was against the south wall of the master bedroom. And at the bottom of the entertainment center is a small safe.
You said south wall, so going back to states 19, can you please indicate where you located this entertainment center and safe?
It was located along the south wall here, west of the doorway into the foyer.
Now showing you states 120 in evidence. What is this a photograph of?
It's a closer-up photograph of that safe that was at the bottom of the entertainment center that was against the south wall.
And did you have an opportunity to examine the safe depicted in States 120?
Yes, I did.
What kind of safe is this?
It appears to be a Slyponus safe.
And do you recall what kind of locking mechanism is on the safe?
It has a keypad that you have to enter in a code.
And with the assistance of law enforcement, were you able to open the safe?
Yes, I was.
I'm showing you a photograph of what's in evidence as States 125. What is this a photograph of?
It is showing the inside contents of that safe.
And this is after the safe has been opened?
That is correct.
And can you please describe the contents we currently see to the jury?
We see a gray lockbox. To the left of the lockbox is 2 CDs. There is a shelf inside the safe. On that shelf is a hard drive and a drawstring bag that had keys inside of it.
Did you attempt to unlock this gray lockbox at the bottom of States 125?
Yes, I did.
And were you able to examine the contents in that lockbox?
Yes, I was.
And it may be obvious, but did this lockbox use a key to be unlocked?
Yes, it did.
I'm showing you States 126 in evidence. What is this a photograph of?
It is showing the contents of the lockbox.
And do you recall the contents of the lockbox?
Inside this black plastic bag were 2 passports belonging to Margaret and Chad Amato. And in this manila envelope was money.
Do you recall how much money? And if it would help to refresh your memory, or would it help you to refresh your memory by looking at your notes?
Yes, it would. Okay.
Has your memory been refreshed?
It has.
How much money was located in the lockbox?
There was 24 $100 bills, and there was 6 $50 bills.
And did you add all that up?
Yes, I did.
And what was the total amount of money you were able to ascertain?
$2,700.
Do you recall examining a closet located in the master bedroom?
Yes, I did.
And going back to the keys you located, were you able to determine if the keys unlocked anything in particular?
There was a set of keys that unlocked a gun safe that was in the closet.
And were you able to unlock the gun safe in the closet?
Yes, I was.
And did you locate anything within the gun safe?
Inside the gun safe was a gun box that contained a firearm.
Did you collect that firearm for evidence?
Yes, I did.
Showing counsel what's been pre-marked for identification as States 13R. Permission to approach the witness. I'm showing the witness what's been pre-marked for identification as states 13R. Do you recognize this exhibit?
Yes, I do.
How do you recognize it?
I recognize it because of my handwriting on the box, as well as the unique case number and my initials. And my initials are on the red evidence tape seal in the box.
And what is contained within this box?
Inside the box is a Glock Model 26 9x19 caliber semi-automatic firearm with a magazine.
And is this box in substantially the same condition as when you collected the item for evidence?
Yes, it is.
Permission to move states 13R into evidence as states next.
Objection overruled. As to States Exhibit 13R, that would be moved into evidence as States Exhibit number 128 in evidence. 120, actually, we're at 30, aren't we? Sorry, give me 1 second. $132.
Published states 132.
You may.
I'm now showing you what's in evidence as states 117. What is this a photograph of?
This shows a shelving unit that is in one of the walls of the living room.
And for the record, going back to states 19, can you please indicate for the jury where you located this entertainment center?
The shelving unit was right here on the east wall of the living room, next to the bar and an opening to the eating area.
Showing you what's in evidence, it states 121. What is this a photograph of?
It's a photograph of two PlayStation 3 game consoles.
And is this a closer up view of the PlayStations that were depicted in states 117?
Yes, they are.
And zooming up again on states 117, do you notice any other electronics?
Yes, there is another game console right there.
And when you say right there, for the record, on the middle shelf of the entertainment center?
Yes, below the two PlayStation 3 game consoles.
Now showing you what's in evidence, it states 122. What is this a photograph of?
It is a photograph of a desk and a hutch that has a computer tower on it in the second floor bedroom/office.
And showing you states 19, what's titled second floor. Can you please indicate to the jury where you located this computer?
This computer was located along the south wall of the bedroom office, east of the door to the hallway.
Going back to 122, can you please indicate all forms of electronics that you see in this photograph?
In this photograph, you have a computer tower, you have a printer, you have a computer monitor,
Now showing you states 124 in evidence. What is this a photograph of?
This is a photograph of a small table that was against the east wall of the second floor office bedroom.
And can you please indicate if you see any forms of electronics in states 124?
A computer monitor was on the table, and underneath the table in a black plastic bag was a computer tower.
Now showing you what's in evidence is states 116. What is this a photograph of?
It is a photograph of a laptop computer.
Do you recall where this laptop computer was located?
It was located in one of the closets off of the hallway of the second floor.
Going back to states 19, what's titled second floor, can you please indicate where this laptop was located?
If I can look at my notes to refresh my memory on which closet?
Would that refresh your memory?
Yes, it would. Yes, it has.
Where did you locate states 116?
It was in the west closet.
Now, is it fair to say throughout the course of your investigation, you located multiple forms of electronics throughout the home?
Yes, I did.
Is it fair to say that these were expensive electronics?
Yes, they were.
Now, throughout the course of your investigation of the home, did you locate any controlled substances in the home?
Yes, I did.
Can you please indicate for the jury what kinds of controlled substances you located within the home?
I located prescription medicine as well as marijuana.
And can you please indicate the amount of marijuana or any observations you made of the marijuana in the home?
There was a unmarked prescription bottle that had marijuana, suspected marijuana in it, in Margaret's vehicle. There were 3 mason jars on top of the firearm locker, so to speak, in Chad's closet that contained suspected marijuana. In the master bathroom, in one of the bathroom drawers, there were 2 small chocolate mint containers that had suspected marijuana in them.
Now, when you located this suspected marijuana, Now, let me ask you this. Throughout your career as a crime scene analyst, have you been to crime scenes or been to scenes located at locations that you might consider a drug house
Yes, I have.
or homes that drugs were being sold?
Yes, I have.
And throughout your investigation at 2112 Sultan Circle, did you find anything that would indicate to you this was a drug house?
No, I did not.
Did you find anything that would indicate to you that drugs were being sold out of this home?
No, I did not.
The substances you found, what conclusions were you able to make?
That they were for personal use.
And you did not find, did you find any baggies or labeling mechanisms that might indicate sale of items?
No, I did not.
Did you locate, was there anywhere in the home that you suspected cannabis was previously, or was being grown or previously grown?
Yes, there was.
Can you please indicate what you located?
In the master bathroom, there was a wooden closet that had been originally up against the doors that the deputies had made entry, and that had been actually pushed by the deputies in order to get into the master bathroom. Inside this closet were items that were consistent with growing marijuana.
Now, based off of your training and experience, were you able to determine whether or not this growing area was active?
It did not appear to be actively growing marijuana at that time.
And how did you determine that?
There were no plants, no suspected marijuana plants currently being grown.
Okay. Did you locate any scales in the home?
No, I did not.
Did you locate any ledgers that might indicate drug transactions?
No, I did not.
So again, everything you located led you to believe this was personal use.
That is correct.
Now, you indicated you had an opportunity to examine the vehicles that were at the home.
Yes, I did.
Specifically, did you have an opportunity to examine Chad Amato's vehicle?
Yes, I did.
Where was his vehicle located?
His vehicle was one of the two vehicles that were parked in the garage of the home.
Do you recall which vehicle was his?
His vehicle was a beige Lexus.
And how did you determine that was his vehicle? And when I say his, I mean Chad's vehicle.
Inside the vehicle had a name tag with Chad's name on it, and as well as I was informed by the investigators that this was his car.
I'm showing you states 123 in evidence. What is this a photograph of?
It is a photograph of the interior of Chad's vehicle. You can see that name tag there on the passenger front seat of the vehicle.
Did you notice anything in the center console area of the vehicle?
Yes, I did.
What did you observe?
There is a gray charging cord for a cell phone.
At this time, Your Honor, showing counsel what's been pre-marked as states 9R for identification. This time, the state would ask permission to move 9R into evidence as a self-authenticating document from the DHS-MV.
No objection, Your Honor.
What's been pre-marked for ID as then State's Exhibit 9R will be moved into evidence as State's Exhibit 133 in evidence.
Permission to publish states 133. for the record, this is from the Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles with vehicle information for Chad Amato. An Lexus four-door. Is this the same vehicle in states 123?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, by stipulation, we would ask 13O and 13T to be moved into evidence as states next.
No objection, Judge.
Then what's been pre-marked for ID as States Exhibit 13O will be moved into evidence as States Exhibit 134 in evidence, and what's been pre-marked as, was it 13, it was 13O and 13T? Okay. Will be moved into evidence as States Exhibit 135.
Mr. Rubart, I just have a couple more questions for you. It's been a long 2 days. Mr. Rubart, are you familiar with cell phones or smartphones that require a fingerprint, bless you, to unlock the phone?
Yes, I am.
Now, throughout your career as a crime scene analyst, have you had the occasion to unlock a cell phone using a deceased person's finger?
Yes, I have.
On what occasions would you have done this?
They would have been done on death investigations.
Specifically, what types of death investigations have you done this?
I've done it on suicide investigations, natural death investigations, and homicide investigations.
How many times throughout your career would you say you have used a deceased person's finger to unlock their cell phone?
I would say at least a dozen times.
And were you successful in unlocking those cell phones using the deceased owner's finger?
Yes, I was.
Now, can you explain to the jury just how long it took you to process the scene at 2112 Sultan Circle?
We were at the house for approximately from January 25th until January 30th. So 5 days.
One moment, Your Honor. The state attended witness.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Judge. Judge, I'm going to keep the photos right here. Thank you, Judge. Good morning, Mr. Rubart. So you worked for Orange County Sheriff's Office for 9.5 years,
That is correct.
and that was as a crime scene investigator?
That is correct.
And then you have 6 years with Seminole County.
That is correct.
Okay. And that's also as a crime scene investigator.
Well, the title at Seminole County Sheriff's Office is a crime scene analyst.
Okay. And basically, it's the same thing. Your responsibilities are to collect and gather evidence, correct?
That is correct.
And your supervisor in Seminole County is Christine Snyder?
That is correct.
She supervised you on this case?
Yes, she did.
Okay. You arrived approximately when at this scene?
It was 11:35 hours.
Okay. And then it was approximately 2 p.m. when you started to process the area?
Yeah, 2 o'clock is when we received the search warrant.
Search warrant. So then you just, between 11:30 and 2 p.m., you were briefed about what happened?
That is correct.
I don't know, well, the theory of what happened, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Was it any suspects mentioned in this matter during that time frame?
During that time frame, no. It was just mentioned that one person from the home was not accounted for.
That would be Mr. Grant Amato.
That is correct.
So at that time, he's not a suspect.
It's not up to me to determine who's...
You can answer, I'm sorry.
I was just told that he was missing and
Okay.
that he was not accounted for.
Okay. So you, during the discussions before 2 p.m., is this a triple homicide that you're going to process in your mind?
Yes.
Okay. And some of the things that you do are obviously take photographs, correct?
That is correct.
Is that one of the primary things you do first?
That is correct.
Okay. And also, your responsibilities are to gather, not analyze evidence, correct?
It is to gather some evidence, but I'm also trained to process evidence for latent fingerprints.
Okay. And that would be because you're trying to find things of evidentiary value, correct?
That's correct.
And in order to assist investigators to lead to the arrest of whoever this person was, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And part of that gathering of evidentiary evidence is to gather DNA,
That is correct.
and the means of gathering DNA are swabbing different items.
That is correct.
Can you explain the process of the swabbing of DNA to the jury?
Yes. The swabs that we use come to a package. They are sterile inside the package. Once I open them up, I usually take one swab at a time, moisten the tip of the swab with distilled water, and then collect from the stain.
And if you wanted to say, say if my hands are wet right now and I touch this, you could take that swab and it probably would gather my DNA?
Possibly.
Your Honor, objection. Relevance of basic knowledge.
You're saying as far as lack of predicate?
Yes, Your Honor.
Overruled as to this point. He can state what his knowledge is, or his
You can
basis.
answer.
Possibly.
Okay. And that's very important nowadays, correct? To try to collect as much DNA as you can?
That is correct.
Okay. And how about blood? What process do you use to gather blood?
The same way with a moistened swab.
Okay. And how about latent prints? Do you try to gather those too?
That is correct.
I think it speaks for itself. Can you explain what latent prints are, just a general knowledge?
Generally, whenever you possibly touch an item, you're going to leave what's known as a latent fingerprint, which is just basically what a fingerprint is. On your fingers, you have ridges that allow you to grip items. Everybody has an individual set of fingerprints. No two people have been found to have the same fingerprint. And then on your skin, you have oils that moisten the skin. So whenever you touch an item, you leave some of that residue possibly on that item in the shape of your fingerprint.
Okay. And then there are some surfaces that are more conducive to leave fingerprints than others, correct?
That is correct.
Things such as glass would be very conducive.
That's correct.
Things like plastic, like a plastic wrap over an item.
That's correct.
Okay. Other things might not be good for lighting, such as concrete, wouldn't be very good, would it?
That's correct.
Okay. How about the windows of a house? Would that be conducive to get latents?
Well, the windows would be made of glass, so they would be conducive for fingerprints.
Okay. An item such as wood, would that be difficult?
Depends on what type of wood it is. If it's an untreated wood, it would be more of a porous nature, so the fingerprints would soak into it, which you could still process porous items, but you would have to use chemicals such as anhydride or physical developer. If it's a treated wood that has like a waxy surface, then you could use your traditional powders and dye stains for processing for fingerprints.
Okay. And how about footprints? Do you try to gather footprints from a scene?
Yes, we do.
And how do you go about that?
We gather footprints on the scene, such as like a tile floor, using black powder or black magnetic powder. It's kind of the same concept with fingerprints. There's residues on your shoes that you pick up wherever you walk, and then when you walk onto a smooth surface, you could leave an impression of those residues that can be processed with the powders.
Okay. So what I want to do is go over some photographs with you, and in these photographs, I'm going to ask you questions about different types of evidence you try to gather.
Okay?
Okay? I'd like to show you what's State's Exhibit 17. This is the rear of the house where you entered, right there.
That is correct.
Okay. And this is foil, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And you were talking earlier from the prosecutor about the, I guess, the growing operation in the closet or the armoire. That's that P55 right there?
Yes, that's that. You can see here in the doorway, there's this piece of furniture, this closet or armoire.
Yes, sir. Okay. Did you process anything on those door handles for DNA or latent fingerprints?
No, I did not.
And why is that?
During the investigation, it was determined that our main suspect lived in the home, so processing surfaces like that would not be of evidentiary value, and also considering that door was initially secured and locked when deputies found it.
Okay. And who makes that decision whether or not to test something? Is that up to you, or is that your supervisor?
It was a decision that was made by both me and my supervisor.
Okay. And was she with you when you processed this crime scene?
Yes, she was.
I want to show you here. This is the entrance to the garage, correct? That's the garage?
That is correct.
And right here, that's the garage door opener?
That would appear to be.
Okay. I'd like to approach the witness, Your Honor. Mr. Rubart, I'd like to show you what's been marked as Defendant's Exhibit A. Does that appear to be the garage door opener on that house?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Your Honor, at this time, I would like to, it has a fair and accurate depiction.
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, at this time, I'd like to offer into evidence Defendant's Exhibit 1.
No objection.
All right, so the pre-marked for ID as Defendant's Exhibit A will be moved into evidence as Defendant's Exhibit 1 in evidence.
Thank you, Judge. Now, was your understanding there was no forced entry into this home, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Did you process this garage door opener?
No, I did not.
Did you ever open it?
No, I did not.
Okay. So typically, I assume you have a little bit of experience with garage door openers. There would be like a keypad underneath
Yes.
there? And that keypad would be conducive to get DNA evidence off of?
Yes, it would.
Okay, but you never processed that.
No, I did not.
Can you tell the jury why?
It just wasn't processed.
How about the driveway in the garage floor? Was that examined for any thing of evidentiary value such as blood or footprints or anything like that?
Yes, it was.
Okay, you didn't notice any blood?
No, there were no visible signs of blood.
I'm showing you State's Exhibit 8. Here is a close-up of the doorway. Did you process the door handle or the key lock on that?
No, I did not.
How about the flooring? Did you examine that for any possible footprints or droplets of blood?
There was no blood observed.
Okay. Did you do any DNA swabs of the door locks?
No, I did not.
And can you tell us why?
Again, the main suspect that we developed in the case lived at the home, so his fingerprints on those surfaces would not be of evidentiary value.
Well, Mr. Rubart, I thought you said a few minutes ago that there was no suspects in this case.
Well, you asked me when we discussed a couple of hours before the search warrant.
Correct.
Why? So during the 6 days that we were at that scene, we did develop who our main suspect was.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this then. When did you take this picture?
That picture was taken the first day.
The first day?
Yes.
Okay, so the first day, you said you didn't have a suspect, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so tell us again why you didn't take any DNA swabs of that handle?
Because our processing was over a 6 days long, and again, like I said, our main suspect lived at the house.
I understand that, sir, but at the time you took this picture, your testimony was you did not have a main suspect, and I'm asking you why on this day you did not process that lock.
Objection, ask and answer. Overruled.
You can answer.
The first day that we were there was photographing the inside and outside of the house, doing notes inside and outside of the house, doing my observations of the 3 decedents in the house, and then having the medical examiner respond to the scene and collecting evidence from the bodies of the decedent.
That's your answer for why you did not do a DNA swab.
Well, that's all that we did on the first day when that photograph was taken.
But on the first day, isn't it crucial that you process and obtain as much evidence as you possibly can for evidentiary value to obtain any evidence against a possible suspect?
That would be the idea, yes.
Okay. This is State's Exhibit 4. There is no driveway to this house, is there? A concrete driveway?
No, there is like a dirt driveway that leads up to the concrete slab next to the garage.
Okay. Did you attempt to obtain any type of tire tracks or anything of that nature from the dirt?
No, we did not.
This is State's Exhibit 41. Would it be fair to say it's a rather bloody scene?
That would be fair to say.
Were you able to obtain any type of footprints in that blood?
There were no visible footprints in that blood, and the floor was processed by my supervisor, Christine Snyder.
Okay. And can you explain to the jury how you processed the floor?
Well, my supervisor is the one that processed the floor.
Can you explain, if you had to do it, what you would do to process the floor?
I would visually look for any visible footwear impressions in blood. Then I would process the tile floor with black magnetic powder to try to enhance or develop any footwear impressions. Then I would process that floor with a blood reactive chemical such as leucocrystal violet or Amato black.
And that was a tile floor?
That is correct.
Would it be fair to say that that tile floor would be very conducive to obtain footprints if someone stepped in that blood?
It could be.
Again, here, this is State's Exhibit 46. This is a casing that you found?
That's correct.
Okay. There were no footprints gathered here of evidentiary value?
Like I said, my supervisor is the one that processed the floor.
This is State's Exhibit 48. This is the chicken that you were talking about yesterday,
Yes, it is.
okay? And this, you said, testified yesterday, this chicken was defrosted?
It appeared to be defrosted.
Okay. Now, you had testified earlier that plastic or a wrapping would be conducive. This clearly would be conducive for fingerprints, this type of material?
It could be.
Okay. Did you process this for any DNA or latent prints?
No, I did not.
And why is that?
Again, our main suspect that we developed lived in the house, so his fingerprints on that type of surface would not be of evidentiary value.
And again, you took this picture on the 25th, correct?
That's correct.
And again, your testimony was on the 25th, you did not have a main suspect.
That's correct.
Even though you did not have a main suspect, you failed to try to process this chicken for any type of evidentiary value, such as latents, blood, or DNA. Is that
Well,
correct?
again, like I testified the first day, we did not do any latent processing in the house.
Is it your testimony you only start taking gathering of that type of evidence when you have a suspect?
No,
I mean, your job is, when you first go in there, is to gather as much evidence as you possibly can, correct?
in the time frame that I have, yes.
Well, you're not in a hurry, are you?
No,
You're going to thoroughly investigate and process this crime scene, correct?
that's why the house was held for
5
approximately
days.
6
I understand it was held for 5 days, but I'm asking you what you did on the first day.
I testified on the first day that I photographed the house, collected my notes of the condition of the house and the decedents, collected evidence from the decedents so we could have the medical examiner come in and collect the bodies of the decedents.
Well, I understand that, but the medical examiner is not going to process chicken. That would be your responsibility, wouldn't it?
Overruled.
That would be your responsibility, or your supervisor's, correct?
That's correct.
I'd like to show you, this is Exhibit 62. Now, this is a close-up of the tile floor, correct?
That is correct.
And this, from a distance, some of these spots probably you wouldn't even be able to see, would you?
What do you mean?
I mean, if from afar, I mean, this is a real close-up, and you're
Yes.
seeing little specks of blood.
Yes.
And this would be indicative of how easy it would be if someone stepped into that, they would pick something up from that floor, correct?
Probably with the amount of blood there.
Okay. And you, in your experience, you've processed shoes too, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And that's to gather, if somebody walked through something like this and you had a shoe, you might be able to detect or come up with some blood or something that would be attached to the shoe, correct?
That's correct.
Did that happen in this case, to your knowledge?
I believe there were some shoes from the defendant that were sent off to FDLE.
Okay, are you aware of the results?
Yes, I am.
Objection, hearsay.
Sustained.
Now, you testified a little bit ago about opening cell phones by a dead person's thumb. Did you do that in this case?
No, I did not.
You did not? Okay. And in order, if you had, you would have to take that bloody hand and try to open a phone, but you didn't do that in this case.
Not in this case.
When was the last time you tried to open up someone's phone through a dead person's hand?
It was approximately 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago? Do you recall 3 weeks ago what type of phone that was?
It was a Apple iPhone.
Okay. And I know there's a lot of models. If you don't know, you don't know. Do you know what type of model it was?
I don't recall.
Okay. And in the occasions that you were able to open up a phone using a dead person's thumbprint or however it is, have you ever had an occasion where it didn't work?
Yes.
How often did that happen?
I would say a couple times.
And how long ago was that?
Probably about 6 months to a year.
And by chance, and I'm not going to hold you to it, do you remember what type of phone that was?
No, I don't recall.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Showing you here what State's Exhibit 85. This came from the card holder from Cody Amato.
That's correct.
Okay. Did you process any of these cards for latent prints or DNA?
No, I did not.
And why is that, sir?
It was just not decided upon to process those for fingerprints.
Now, I just showed you the cards. This is the State's Exhibit 84. This is actually the card holder, correct?
That's correct.
It looks like it's made out of metal.
That's correct.
That appears to be very conducive if you wanted to get DNA or fingerprints from it, that type of surface.
That's correct.
Was that done in this case?
No, it was not.
Can you tell us why?
It was just not decided to have been processed.
Thank you, sir. I want to show you is State's Exhibit 82. Now, this is a phone clip carrier. This is where you would put your cell phone in?
Yes.
And it's my understanding from your testimony that you did not retrieve a cell phone belonging to Cody Amato?
That is correct.
Okay. Did you ever process this holder?
That holder was sent off to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement for processing.
Thank you. Here I'm showing you State's Exhibit 80. This is the threshold from the gym to the garage.
That is correct.
Okay. And Going towards the garage, we see a mat, it looks like it's got some debris on it. Maybe outside grass or something,
That's correct.
right over here, and I guess over here. Were you able to obtain any type of footprints around this area?
There were no visible footprints and blood on those mats.
Okay. Well, and also, I assume this is concrete, outside here to the outside of the garage, there was nothing found?
Nothing was found.
What I'm showing you here, sir, is State's Exhibit 22. You testified yesterday this was a wine glass,
That's correct.
and this was empty, correct?
That's correct.
Was there any liquid wine in it at all?
No.
Did you smell it to see if it smelled like wine or anything?
No, I did not.
Okay. Now, obviously, this would be a very conducive surface to obtain latent prints.
Yes, it would.
Did you process this?
No, I did not.
Again, that was your decision?
That was the decision made between me and my supervisor.
How about the calculator, the numbers? They look like they're plastic. Was that processed at all?
No, it was not.
Okay. Anything on the computer desk, you swab any parts of the desk for anything of evidentiary value?
There were some swabs collected from the areas of suspected blood on the desk.
Okay, thank you. This phone right here, was this processed at all?
No, it was not,
Again, can you tell us why?
because obtaining fingerprints on that item, since we had developed our main suspect, developing fingerprints on that item would not have been of evidentiary value.
Let me ask you, when did you gather information that you had a suspect?
That information was obtained during the course of the investigation of the 5 days at the house.
Of the 5 days, was it on the 5th day, the 4th day? Can you tell us?
I don't recall.
Okay. But it was not on the 25th when you first processed the house. Your testimony was you did not have a suspect then.
That's correct.
Showing you State's Exhibit 27. This was a cell phone. Is that the position where it was found at?
No.
Where was it found at?
It was found a little farther up on the computer desk.
Up here?
Yes.
Was this processed at all for latent prints?
No, it was not.
The other side of that phone's glass, correct?
That's correct.
It's an iPhone? Another surface very conducive for prints,
Yes.
but it wasn't processed.
No, it was not.
Showing you State's Exhibit 29. Here again, this is in the Margaret's little office.
That's correct.
This was another cell phone, correct?
That's correct.
And can you tell us what that surface is, the substance there?
It is suspected blood on the cell phone.
Okay. Was the glass on the other side of the phone processed on this phone?
No, it was not.
Showing you here is State's Exhibit 30. Right here, it looks like the charger for the landline phone.
That's correct.
These look like numbers to dial.
That would be correct.
Okay. Was this processed at all, these numbers? Swabbed for latents, for DNA?
No, they were not.
Another, just your decision or your team's decision?
That's correct.
What I'm showing you here State's Exhibit 32. Now, once again, this was taken, picture was taken on the 25th, the first day, correct?
That's correct?
Okay. And this was sometime after 2 p.m., correct?
That's correct.
You weren't inside the house before 2 o'clock?
No, I was not.
Did you ever, this is rather unusual, do you have any explanation why they're up there?
Yes, I do.
Can you tell us why?
We were informed by the older surviving brother that the parents were doing some renovations in that foyer and that sunlight would hamper either the painting or something that was done in that foyer, so that the parents had covered those windows to prevent sunlight from coming in.
Exactly, because the sunlight would come in and it would shine right in her. So this has nothing to do, so you didn't process this. This wouldn't be something you would process.
No, that was already there prior to the incident.
Okay, thank you, sir. Showing you here State's Exhibit 36. Again, these are headphones and the laptop. Was the laptop processed at all for prints?
No, it was not?
Again, that was just a decision made.
Yes.
I'm showing you here, sir, State's Exhibit 107. I believe this is Grant's room, is that correct?
Yes, it's showing the closet in Grant's bedroom.
Okay. While you were in photographing that, did you find any gun cases in there?
I don't recall.
Would your report refresh your recollection?
Possibly.
With the court's permission, can he read his
You
report?
may. Let us know if and when your memory's refreshed and when you're done.
Mr. Rubart, I'll tell you what, I'm going to show you 109.
Okay.
This actually looks like, are those gun cases down here?
Yes, those are 3 gun cases.
Okay. Does that help you better? Refresh your memory just seeing that?
Well, that was a different area of his
Yes, sir.
bedroom.
Okay. And did you open up these gun cases?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Can you tell us what was inside them?
They were all 3 were empty.
Okay. They did have some foam gun inserts in them, though?
Yes, they did have some foam inserts that the gun would fit into.
And a foam insert, that's where the person would place their weapon inside just to have it secured so it won't bounce around?
Yes.
Okay. Did you observe some foam inserts in the closet, just on their own outside the box?
I don't recall.
Did you look at your report to see if that refreshes your recollection?
There was nothing in my notes
Report that would
for
reflect
that.
that? Show you State's Exhibit 111. This would be the bedroom, the computer in the bedroom.
Yes, that's the computer table in Grant's bedroom.
Okay. Did you process anything of this for latents or DNA?
No, I did not.
Any type of blood found in this bedroom?
There was no visible blood found in the bedroom.
I'd like to show you State's Exhibit 103. Here, this laptop here, was that processed at all for latent prints or DNA?
No, it was not.
So I'm going to go back, sorry about this, skip back to the closet. This is 107, I believe this is Grant's closet. Would those foam inserts be right in there?
Right and where again?
Right about there? Under,
From this picture, I can't identify those as being foam inserts.
okay. Okay, sir, what I want to show you here, well, before we get there, let's go to the safe. This is 120, this is the safe outside. Whoops. You were able to gain entrance to this safe?
I personally wasn't, but one of the investigators was.
Did you observe him open it?
Yes, I did.
Prior to him opening it for you, did you process this for latent prints?
No, I did not.
Now, this possibly could be some important evidence here, couldn't it?
Possibly.
Why didn't you process it then?
Again, it was an item that, since we had developed our main suspect as living in the house, his fingerprints on there would not be of evidentiary value.
Again, sir, this picture was taken on 125, correct?
Yes.
And on 125, you did not have a main suspect.
Yes, also that safe at that time is secured. There's no evidence that it was broken open. There was no pry marks on it.
Isn't it possible that somebody could gain entrance to it, just like law enforcement did, remove the contents and close the safe back up?
Possibly.
In your experience, then, wouldn't it be important to process this?
Possibly.
But it wasn't done.
It was not done.
Now, you talked about the marijuana that was gathered. There was like a couple of mason jars that were found. That was in the master bedroom, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then that closet, armoire, whatever you want to describe it, that was like a homemade growing system,
That's correct.
but it didn't seem like it was an operation.
It did not seem it was an operation.
So I want to show you, here's State's Exhibit 118. This was the cell phone that was found in the master bedroom, correct?
That's correct.
It was plugged in when you saw it,
Just like that.
just
yes.
like that. Did you happen to notice how much power was on the phone?
No, I did
No.
not.
When you first looked at that phone, Was it a black screen?
It was in the exact condition as it was as I photographed it.
Okay. Now, this is the same phone. This is, I'm showing you State's Exhibit 127, correct?
That's correct.
Now, obviously, it's not black. It looks like it's turned on, and it looks like it's showing messages.
That's correct.
Did you power up the phone, or was it already on?
It was just like that as I photographed it.
So when you, that phone is still, when you're photographing that phone, this is what it looks like right there, right?
That's correct.
Okay, I'm sorry, that's what it looks like. So this picture looks like the material is the same. You have not moved this phone at all. And when you photographed it, that was on the screen?
That's correct.
Well, first I thought you said it was a black screen when you first looked at it.
No, I said I photographed it just like it was.
Okay, so you have a cell phone, correct?
That's correct.
After a while, doesn't your cell phone go dark, it locks up?
Eventually, yes.
Okay. Is it your testimony that this phone, did you have to open the phone to make it look like the message? You didn't do anything to it?
Well, I was informed that one of the deputies that had made entry into the home had touched the phone.
Okay, and touched the phone, so this phone wasn't even processed for latents or anything?
No, it was not.
So how, please explain to me how we're looking at a phone that was just sitting there for, obviously for a long time, still has the messages screen that's showing.
Well, I just said that one of the deputies that had made entry earlier that day had touched the phone.
Okay, well, let's say earlier that day. So at least a few hours ago, we'd have to say, right? Because you were waiting for 2.5 hours to get into the house.
That's correct.
So 2.5 hours later, is it your testimony that you walked up to that phone and that's what you saw?
I did not touch the phone.
You did not touch the phone?
I did not touch the phone.
You didn't touch the phone, the bottom button to just get the screen cover, the wallpaper, or however you want to phrase it?
I did not touch the phone.
You did not touch the phone, you just walked up there and that was on it?
I photographed it as it was.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I don't have any further questions, Judge. Thank you.
Members of the jury, we're going to try and get this witness done and do the redirect at this point, and then we're going to break for lunch since he's been here yesterday and today, all right? Is that okay with everyone? All right, and everyone's shaking their head yes. Redirect?
Yes, Your Honor. All right, Mr. Rubart, I want to touch on some things that counsel brought up. He asked you multiple times about your investigation, specifically on January 25th of 2019. You testified that your investigation of the home at 2112 Sultan Circle took place over the course of 5 to 6 days. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And during those 5 to 6 days, did you preserve that scene?
Yes.
Did you and your supervisor preserve that scene?
Yes, we did.
And to preserve that scene, did you keep anyone else from entering and exiting the home?
Yes, we did.
Okay. So is it fair to say that during those 5 to 6 days, you were able to keep all of the evidence within the home untouched and unmoved from any outsiders?
That's correct.
So it doesn't matter what time during the course of those 5 to 6 days you actually developed the suspect. The evidence would still be there. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And you stated you did, in fact, come up with a main suspect during the course of your investigation of the home.
That's correct.
So within the 5 to 6 days that you were at Sultan Circle, you and your supervisor developed a suspect. Or not, you didn't specifically develop a suspect, but a suspect was developed while you were conducting your investigation of the home.
That's correct.
Okay. And to be clear, was that suspect Grant Amato?
That's correct.
And based off of all of the information that you had at that time, was Grant Amato a resident of the home at 2112 Sultan Circle?
Yes, he was.
And to your knowledge, were all of the residents of the home Grant Amato, Chad Amato, Margaret Amato, and Cody Amato?
That is correct.
Okay. So because this was determined to be a domestic situation, would processing the scene for latent prints show residents of the home?
That's correct.
Would processing the scene of the home for DNA show residents of the home?
That's correct.
So even if Grant Amato's prints were located within the home, would that have only showed you that he in fact lived there?
That's correct.
So even if Grant Amato's DNA was found within the home, would that have only showed you that Grant in fact lived there?
That's correct.
Okay. Counsel is asking you about latent prints from fingerprints. If you swab an area or process an area for latent prints, are you able to determine a time that that print was made?
No, we are not.
Okay. So even if you found a print belonging to Grant Amato, you would not be able to determine exactly what day Grant Amato made that fingerprint.
No, we could not.
Same question for DNA. If you found DNA in the home, can you determine the time or date of when the DNA was put there?
No, we could not.
So even if you located Grant Amato's DNA within the home, would you have been able to determine exactly when his DNA was put there?
No, we could not.
And counsel went through a litany of showing you various photographs of items that belonged in the home. Is it fair to say that any one of those 4 residents could have touched those items throughout the course of their lifetime within the home?
That's correct.
So is it fair to say that it's possible Grant Amato's fingerprints or DNA were located on those items because he lived there?
That's correct.
Now, just because you swab something for DNA, does that mean you will always locate DNA?
Not necessarily.
And just because someone touches something, does that guarantee that their print will be there?
No, it does not.
Counsel asked you about the chicken that was on the counter and whether or not prints were on the chicken. Is it fair to say that someone who lived in the home took the chicken out of the freezer?
Objection, speculation.
Sustained.
Do you recall if the chicken was moist or wet?
It was moist.
Can you get prints off of a moist item?
It's more difficult, but it's possible.
And again, you had determined this was a domestic situation throughout the course of your investigation of the home.
That's correct.
And just to be clear, your supervisor processed the scene for any possible shoe prints. Is that correct?
That's correct.
You did not take part in that.
No, I did not.
Now, is it practical to process every piece of evidence or every item that would be located within a home?
No, it would not be.
Did any items in the home appear to be moved or out of the ordinary, with the exception of the decedents and the shell casings and guns?
No, nothing appeared to be moved or ransacked or out of the ordinary.
Did anything appear to be rummaged through?
No, nothing appeared to be rummaged through.
Counsel asked you if you had an iPhone. Do you in fact have an iPhone?
I have an agency-issued iPhone, yes.
Okay. So you're familiar with Apple products or iPhones?
Somewhat.
Okay. Are you familiar with display settings?
Yes, I am.
And are you familiar with, can users determine the display settings on their phone?
Yes, they could be adjusted.
Okay. So to be clear, the photographs of the cell phone, you did not touch that phone?
No, I did not touch that phone.
You photographed it as you saw it?
As I saw it, yes.
One moment, Your Honor.
All right, members of the jury, do you have any questions of this witness? All right, write them down. The jury, Mr. Rubart, has quite a few questions for you.
Okay.
All right, so let me ask you first parts. Number one, an Amazon Echo appears on the desk within the office. Was it considered for evidence and given Amazon records conversation sounds?
That item was eventually collected.
What did Kristen process the first day, January 25th?
She assisted with note-taking and documentation inside the home. She scanned the inside of the home and the outside of the home with a Faro 3D scanner.
At what time was the suspect named?
I believe it was after the second day. The second day, my supervisor had attended the autopsies of the 3 victims, and then I was asked to go do a search warrant of a hotel room where Grand Amato was found.
Exhibit 30.
Sorry.
Are they in order? Right. Okay, so in Exhibit 30 is the black cylindrical tower on the desk an Amazon product? And if so, was this device sent to digital forensics to retrieve any recorded conversations? And if no, why was it not sent to forensics? I assume that may be from the last question, but
Yes, that item was collected, and I do believe that some attempt was made to get the information off of there. I don't know the extent of that.
how many bullets were loaded in the magazine of Chad's firearm? What is the full capacity?
If I could look at my notes to refresh my memory.
You may do so. Let me know when you're finished and if your memory's refreshed.
Okay, I'm done?
All right, is your memory refreshed?
Yes.
All right, then how many bullets were loaded in the magazine of Chad's firearm and what is the full capacity?
The magazine for Chad's firearm was a 10-round capacity magazine, and there was 5 live rounds in the magazine.
Same question, but for Cody's firearm. You need to look at your notes?
Yes, please.
All right, you may do so.
Okay, I'm done?
All right, is your memory refreshed?
Yes.
All right, then what is the capacity, what's the loaded amount in the magazine and what's the full capacity for Cody's firearm?
For Cody's firearm, it was a 17-round capacity magazine. There was 1 live round in the chamber, and there was 4 live rounds in the magazine.
Was there suspected tissue or blood found on the handgun found near Cody Amato?
No, there was not.
Aye. Where was the keys and cell phone holder located in the bag? The front zipper pocket or the main zipper pocket? And you're refreshing your memory with your notes?
Yes, I am.
Let me know if you're done and if your memory's refreshed.
I am done.
All right. So where was the keys and the cell phone holder located in the bag, front zipper pocket and main zipper pocket?
I just have the items that were listed in the bag. I do not recall if they were in the main pocket or the smaller pocket.
What is the clear bag in the gun case from Cody's closet? Spare parts?
Yes, there was a clear plastic bag that appeared to have some spare parts.
All right. Let's take Exhibit 80. Okay. In the picture, the threshold of the garage door, is that a small pool of blood suspected or just a stain? And they're asking to see the picture again if it's suspected. In the picture, the threshold of the garage door, is that a small pool of blood, suspected blood, or just a stain?
Now this whole thing here, and even in here is a pool of suspected blood.
Why doesn't the state still look for other evidence, meaning testing for prints, just in case the main suspect is cleared? Do you stop looking because you have one theory or one suspect?
Well, we, like I said, we had developed the suspect to have lived in that home. So therefore, fingerprints deposited in that home, we couldn't tell when they were deposited or how long. So they were not of evidentiary value.
In regards to the door from the garage to the gym, was there suspected blood and tissue on the door frame and door edge that is in contact with each other when the door is closed?
Yes, I believe that was shown in an earlier photograph. There was suspected blood and tissue on the edges of the door and the door frame that would be in contact if the door was closed.
All right, and this one, again, please clarify, there are droplets of blood outside the door leading from the gym to the garage?
Yes, there is some droplets of blood here on the floor of the garage.
All right. Please clarify, you found 2 cell phones near Margaret?
Yes, two cell phones were found, one that was on the desk, the computer desk, and then one that was found on the floor with suspected blood on it.
Were they both Margaret's?
To my knowledge, they were Margaret's.
Whose phone was on the floor by Margaret?
Again, I believe that was one of Margaret's cell phones.
Did the holster on Chad's hip appear new?
I don't know if I could say if it appeared new. It appeared free from damage. It appeared to not have any suspected blood on it or any other markings.
Is there any blood on the gun in exhibit, this is 93, please. Pardon? Oh, 93 is physical? Okay. All right. The question is there any blood on the gun of exhibit 93? I have exhibit 93 as the projectile from the gym wall. I don't have it as an actual gun. So that may be the issue. Oh, she's saying it's 73. The question says 90. Okay, so it's the photo from the firearm in the gym, number 73.
Can I answer the question?
If you already know the answer without the picture, that's fine, yes. Is there
Yes.
any blood on the gun in exhibit 73?
No blood was found on that gun.
Did Cody's body appear moved?
Yes, it did appear to be moved.
Was there any blood on the door leading from the gym into the garage? Some of these questions are duplicative from individual jurors, but please answer.
Yes, there was some suspected blood on the door leading to the garage.
Was exhibit 73 fingerprinted?
Is this Exhibit 73?
Yes.
Yes, that gun was processed for latent fingerprints.
Are you a forensic analyst?
I am a crime scene analyst. What would there be their definition of a forensic analyst?
I can only ask you the questions they write. All right. Did Chad's body appear to have been moved after he was shot?
Yes, it appeared that his body had been moved.
Whose phone was located in the master bedroom? States exhibit number 127.
That phone was determined to be Chad Amato's phone.
Who was the owner of the phones in the office and the master bedroom? I believe you answered that as well, but please answer again.
I believe both phones were Margaret Amato's phones. And the phone was in the master bedroom was Chad's phone.
Were the phones in the office on or off?
I don't recall.
If the analyst was not aware, and I assume you're the analyst, if the analyst was not aware of any suspects, would he have processed the crime scene differently?
Possibly.
Did the analyst follow the same procedure in the Amato home as he would have in any other homicide crime scene without suspects?
Well, since we had developed a suspect in this case and the suspect lived in the house, that's why surfaces in the house was not processed for fingerprints. If there was a scene where we did not know who the suspect was, then certain areas would have been processed for fingerprints.
State, do you have any follow-up questions based upon those questions?
Yes, Your Honor. Have any additional suspects from January up until today's date, have any additional suspects ever been developed in this case?
No, they have not.
In the course of those 6 months that have passed, if another suspect had been developed, would you have done any further investigations?
Possibly.
Would you have done any follow-ups if an additional suspect had been developed?
Yes.
And again, up from January till today's date, no other suspects have been developed except Grant and Amato, is that correct?
That's correct.
And back in January of 2019, on January 25th of 2019, did you see any forced entry into the home?
No forced entry was observed into the home.
Did you observe any possible break-in?
No, there was no evidence of any break-in into the home.
Did you observe anything to have been rummaged through or disheveled?
Nothing appeared to be rummaged through or disheveled.
Anything that would lead you to believe a robbery or burglary had occurred?
No, I did not observe anything that would lead me to believe that a robbery had occurred.
You were asked whether you thought Cody Amato's body had been moved, and you answered yes. I'm showing you state 72. Can you please indicate why you believed Cody's body had been moved?
I believe his body had been moved due to the amount of blood, suspected blood that had pooled here.
And when you say here, we're looking at the bottom.
Next to the one edge of the door frame.
Okay.
So I believe at some point his head was over this area and the blood was dripping from the wounds to his head.
And did you compare the area that you indicated at the bottom by the door frame with the area where Cody's head was actually resting?
Yes, there was substantially more amount of suspected blood in this location.
Okay. You also indicated that you believe Chad Amato's body had been moved. I'm showing you states 41. Why did you believe Chad's body had been moved?
I believe that his body might have been moved due to the fact that we found a impact mark in the tile floor there that would be consistent with being struck by a projectile. And you see that his head over here is where the suspected gunshot wounds were, so they don't match up to where that impact mark was. So I believe at some point his body was rolled over.
Rolled over as in Chad may have been face down?
That at some point Chad may have been face down, yes.
And now, based on this photograph, he is face up.
In this photograph, he's laying on his back, face up.
Did anyone from law enforcement move his body or roll Chad over?
No.
Showing you state 78, you were asked about the door frame, can you please indicate where the door would close or would have closed?
Yes, in this section right here is a section of the door frame that if the door was closed, it would make contact with that area.
And I'm going to zoom in. Can you please indicate any areas you may see, I'll start with the top, of suspected blood or tissue?
Yes, there's an area here, and an area here, and an area here of suspected blood and tissue.
I'll move it down. How about here?
Yes, there's another area here of suspected blood and tissue.
Anything further?
It appears to be another area here of suspected blood or tissue.
All right, no further questions.
So your testimony is you believe that body has been moved?
Possibly, yes.
Okay. And that's based upon, because there's blood pooled by his feet?
Yes.
So the person that manipulated that body would have had to step around all of that blood so as not to leave any evidence that someone else was there, any type of footprints.
That's correct.
Okay. And you processed that area and you did not recover or obtain any footprints of evidentiary value?
No, there was no visible footprints in blood on the carpet or on the garage floor.
Yes, sir. Show you State's Exhibit 41. Again, your position or opinion is that this body was also manipulated and moved?
Possibly.
And again, the person who did that obviously avoided making any footprints or leaving any type of evidence of value around that body, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Nothing, no footprints were found. No blood was smudged with shoe prints or anything of that nature, was there?
No.
Okay. Nothing further, Judge.
Members of the jury, any more questions of this witness? And nobody's indicating, may this witness be excused and released.
Subject to recall, Your Honor.
He's
All right.
subpoenaed for the defense, too.
All right, so you're at this time, sir, Mr. Rubart, you're excused, but you are not released at this point from either of your subpoenas. You're subject to recall, so you have to be available in case you are called to the stand. But you're free to go about your business at this time.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, we are going to take, at this time, a brief lunch break. We'll be back. I'd like to start up at 1:45, so if we could make sure you're back into the jury room before that, okay? All right, otherwise, thank you very much. Lay your notes upside down. And remember, don't talk about the case or read